From his Central Texas Command Center, deep behind enemy lines, the information war continues. It's Alex Jones and the GCN Radio Network.
We are simulcasting the last 2 hours at prisonplanet.tv. Every day the radio show converts at the halfway point, sometimes earlier, to television via prisonplanet.tv. Thank you so much for joining us. I have the webmaster and the head of an excellent website, cryptome.org, John Young, joining us next hour. I had meant to get into this subject later in the show, how Google, Yahoo, they all surveil you. It all goes instantly to the government. There are no warrants. It's all completely illegal. I pulled up articles out of USA Today that when you order a pizza, it's run through a criminal database to see if you have a warrant because they know you're giving your real name and credit card. Guilty until proven innocent. Everyone put through these grids. This is being run by the criminal government. Goldman Sachs, according to Bloomberg, is arming itself with weapons against the public. Northcom and Homeland Security's #1 enemy, according to their own documents, is the American people. Gun owners, veterans, conservatives. This is what you expect from a criminal rogue government. A private corporate takeover is happening. This is the first day of the Copenhagen, Denmark, United Nations Climate Change Conference, December 7th and December 18th, as they ratify open world government, in the words of the head of the EU and the UN, Ban Ki-moon and Herman von Rompuy, and Al Gore and many others. In fact, I want to cue those clips up again and play those later in the hour. Now, I had meant to just take calls and go over the latest on ClimateGate, this open world government being established, what's in the treaty, whether Obama's going to sign on. He will sign on. Then they've got to ratify it through the Senate. That probably will pass this year or next. The problem is, even if it doesn't pass, the states, this is worldwide, all the sub-regions, are already implementing the carbon system. The EPA, in line with that, has announced today they are going to list carbon dioxide as a toxic waste. The average 160-pound Homo sapien sapien, human being, that's you and I, puts off 5.5 pounds of carbon dioxide a day that plants then respirate from, thus producing oxygen and completing the carbon cycle on the planet. Carbon, of course, has been 14 to 20 times higher, carbon dioxide, in the past. It is a life-giving gas. The Earth is actually carbon dioxide starved. The globalists chose this as a tax because it allows them to have an iron grip over all industry, all human activity. In the words of the head UN biodiversity chief, Maurice Strong, to, quote, shut down all industrial society and make humankind the enemy of the global government. You cannot make up the magnitude of this evil. Now, I opened the phones up, and we've taken more than 10 calls of people all over the country going to gun shows, told, give us your driver's license. They scan. Give us your Social Security. Some scan it. Some just write it down. Walmart doing it. The feds have ordered this outside of law. They're just ordering it. It's unified nationwide. People are sending in the reports of the names of the gun shows. I've known this is happening for a year, but I'm so busy on other issues, I hadn't really covered it on air, and it took a caller mentioning it that ignited my anger. This is illegitimate. It's illegal. I need stories from Kurt Nimmo on this ASAP. Again, we just went live at TV, but if you go to the podcast at Infowars.com and subscribe to it, or the restreams, or if your local AM and FM re-airs the show, most carry it live. In that entire second hour, I took call after call after call, naming the gun shows where this has happened. And I've already confirmed it's going on. It's just good to actually hear it from the people. The government just orders the gun shows to do it. No law. They're just intimidated by the BATF goons to do it. It is absolutely devastating. Let's take one more call on that subject. Then we're going to shut down my phone system that I only open on special occasions and go back to the Genesis calls. For everybody that's holding, perhaps Genesis can give me a new call list because those calls have been holding for a while. A fresh call list so I can make sure I'm going to callers that are actually there. I appreciate the Genesis phone calls for holding while I went over all that. But let's get through a bunch of your calls right now. Let's go ahead and go to Jim in Utah. Jim, what's your story?
Well, my story is in Price, Utah. I went to Kmart to do some Christmas shopping and filled up a buggy full of merchandise, went to buy my son a .22 rifle, noticed there was no guns. So I asked the service person where was their .22 rifles. And they told me that the Kmarts have chosen not to sell the American people guns or ammunition or archery or any of that anymore.
Yeah, that happened with Rosie O'Donnell originally. She called for them to stop selling guns, and they did a few years after that. But did you hear all the callers who were having to give driver's license to buy ammo?
Yeah, I went into Walmart and was going to buy ammunition, and they had a clipboard there. And the first question out of their mouth was, is this for a handgun or a rifle? And I asked them why they needed to know, and they said before they could sell it to me, that's the question they had to ask.
And then every Walmart in the country takes your driver's license and scans it. Did they ask for that?
You know, it didn't even get to that point. I told them if I had to do all that, I wasn't going to live like a slave. And in both cases, I left both buggies of merchandise for them to restock themselves. So anybody, you know, if they're not going to sell us guns and ammo, I say go somewhere else and shop.
Well, I hear you, and God bless you, Jim. Here's what's happening. They can't pass the gun laws they want federally, though they're trying. They've got gun laws where the BATF can recommend to the Attorney General, and he can ban any guns he wants. It just gives him imperial power. That bill's got co-sponsors right now. They've got the no-fly, no-buy. No judge, no jury, no conviction, no arrest, no indictment. They won't tell you how you got on the list. You can't get off the list. They just say you can't buy a gun anymore. They're already doing that, even though the bill hadn't passed. That's already been implemented. But in California and many other states, Texas has already tried this, they make you thumbprint and register to buy ammo every time you buy ammo. But where they can't get it passed as a law, the BATF comes in, and I've seen them do it, with shaved heads and their little mafia mustaches or goatees. I mean, they look like guys right out of if I was casting for a Hollywood movie and wanted criminals, I would go hire BATF because they just look like real criminals. They just, a vapor of evil comes off of them. It's unbelievable. And they come in and they go, looks like you spelled this guy's name wrong. You know, they'll go through 5,000 forms and find one spot where you didn't dot an I. And they'll say, I got you for fraud with firearms sales. And this is how they shut down most of the gun shops. And they'll say, or you start getting Social Security numbers, anybody that buys ammo or buys a cleaning kit, and I won't put you in prison. You work for me now, punk. And they'll sit there and wet their pants and roll over, and America dies by a million cuts. And this is how they run America. And they go in those gun shows and they say, one old man sold 3 rifles in 1 month here. We think that's firearms trafficking. Even though they're legally allowed to sell the guns, we're going to say you're allowing trafficking. We're going to indict this gun show for felonies unless you let us put surveillance cameras in and you get Social Security numbers from everybody. Do you understand? And the decadent, weak gun shop owners like, I don't care about the Second Amendment. I just want money. Hell, I'll help you put everybody in prison. I'll do what you say. I'll do it right now. And that's how America dies. And quietly, the secret police are recruiting the kids and brainwashing them and having them write dossiers on their parents nationwide. And the police are taking blood without warrants on the side of the road. And they're questioning people's kids and taking them in and doing strip searches whenever they want. And they're forcibly inoculating kids all over the country. When the parents get mad, they say, shut up. We're going to do what we want. And the government's just practicing criminality, practicing evil, practicing oppression, practicing dominating everyone. Just like more than 500,000 women from 1922 to 1987, according to the Seattle Post-Intelligencer, were taken and had their uteruses cut out. They didn't just tie their tubes. They removed the entire uterus because it had an added soft kill and would debilitate a lot of them. That's added fun. 44% of Native American women were sterilized from 1970 to 1975 alone. They wanted any type of health care. They weren't told what the procedure was. They were just knocked out and sterilized. That's what this government is. They're putting drugs in your water. They're sterilizing you. They're giving your children bone cancer. They admit it. They brag that you're animals and stupid. and that there's nothing you can do to stop them. They love it. And these government bureaucrats love giving their kids big glasses of fluoride. It's a giggling, demonic spirit. They always laugh about it. You tell one of these evil servants of tyranny about how they're being hurt by the system, they'll just giggle and give you this little piggy smile is what I call it. And it's just a spirit of submission to evil. As long as they can hurt people under them, they don't mind if they're getting hurt from those on top.